if you are an aspirant preparing for RBI or thinking of preparing for RBI, तो खाली RBI की तैयारी करने से काम नहीं चलता है. It might get you through phase 1 and phase 2, but interview में you might feel lost. If you don't have an idea why exactly are you preparing for this examination, why are you trying to enter this organization, बहुत ज़रूरी है कि एक सेंस ऑफ पर्पस, एक सेंस ऑफ क्लैरिटी आपके पास हो. As Mr. Naval Ravikant, I listen to him read whatever he writes very regularly. वो बहुत ज़्यादा क्लियर भाषा में बोलते हैं कि यार आपको सेंस ऑफ क्लैरिटी या सेंस ऑफ पर्पस नहीं है अगर लाइफ में, तो आप बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ अचीव नहीं कर पाओगे. एंड दैट अप्लाइज हेयर एज वेल, बिकॉज यू आर कंपीटिंग इन एन एग्जामिनेशन जहाँ पर सक्सेस रेट बहुत कम है, 1% के आसपास सक्सेस रेट है. इन दैट सिनेरियो, हाउ डू यू डिफरेंशिएट योर सेल्फ फ्रॉम अदर्स, नॉट ओनली ऑन पेपर इन द एग्जामिनेशन बट ऑल्सो इन योर ओन माइंड. इसके लिए समझना जरूरी है वाई इज RBI such an important institution or organization for India as a whole. Recently, RBI came out with 2 new domain names, bank.in, fin.in. बहुत छोटा सा इनिशिएटिव लगता है, बट एक्चुअली बहुत बड़े इम्प्लीकेशंस ऐसे इनिशिएटिव्स के होते हैं हमारी सोसाइटी पे, हमारे कंट्री के फ्यूचर पे, हमारे इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट पे. That is why I want to talk about why exactly is it that RBI is such an important institution for India, for India's economic growth from here onwards. बहुत ज़्यादा पॉइंट्स मैं नहीं दूंगा, दे कैन बी हंड्रेड्स ऑफ इम्पॉर्टेंसेस, बट मैं बहुत बेसिक तरीके से बात करना चाहूँगा. आई विल ट्राई एंड provide you certain pointers so that you can understand whether this is the institution for you or not. This is where you want to spend your entire life or not. Because believe me, once you enter, it's very difficult to move out. You don't want to move out, you don't want to let go of that stability. But agar sense of purpose, sense of clarity, satisfaction nahi hoga, even after entering RBI, you might feel lost, you might feel dissatisfied and unhappy. So it's very important that we as people have more clarity, understanding about what exactly is it that we're going after. So let's begin. अब किसी भी कंट्री में, इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया, 2 मेजर पॉलिसीज होती हैं which decide how money is circulated in the country and how the money is used as a tool for development of that nation. Fiscal policy and monetary policy. Now you can see on the screen, on the left hand side we have fiscal policy which is in the hands of the government. तो इसके अंदर हम नहीं घुसेंगे. The budget is where fiscal policy comes into play. On the right hand side, we have the monetary policy, which is basically trying to measure and change and regulate the supply of money in the economy. Now, this supply of money in the economy, its regulation holds a lot of importance because it has multiple implications on the entire economy, and this is where RBI comes in as an organization. So, the flow of money in an economy is decided by culmination of these two. और जो फर्स्ट पिलर है, इन दोनों पिलर्स में से जो फर्स्ट पिलर है, दैट इज वेयर RBI कम्स इन. मनी हैज बिकम द बाइंडिंग एजेंट इन मॉडर्न सोसाइटीज. इट यूज्ड टू बी मल्टीपल अदर थिंग्स. रिलीजन होता था, कल्चर होता था, हिस्ट्री होता था, नॉलेज होता था, बट राइट नाउ मनी हैज बिकम, बिकॉज ऑफ इट्स फ्लूइडिटी, इट्स लिक्विडिटी, वर्सैटिलिटी, तो बहुत ज़्यादा इट्स बिकम दैट एजेंट दैट कीप्स द एंटायर सोसाइटी टुगेदर, दैट मेक श्योर दैट एन economy or a country remains a free and well-functioning economy, well-functioning country. So money has become that binding force, and therefore the impact of these organizations have become even more important, even more deep in the society's well-being. अब RBI जो भी मनी सप्लाई डिसीजंस लेता है along with fiscal policy, जो भी सरकार लेती है, they have a lot of implications, a lot of impacts. मैंने कुछ इम्पैक्ट्स यहाँ पे लिखे हैं. डेवलपमेंट ऑफ अ नेशन इज बाय एंड लार्ज डिसाइडेड बाय हाउ द मनी इज फ्लोइंग इन द इकोनॉमी, वेयर द मनी इज फ्लोइंग इन द इकोनॉमी, किसके पास वो पैसा जा रहा है. इफ देर इज मोर इनइक्वालिटी इन अ सोसाइटी, देर इज मनी फ्लोइंग इन द इकोनॉमी, बट इफ देर इज इनइक्वालिटी, दैट मीन्स more money is flowing towards the richer people and less money is going to the bottom of the pyramid, the poor people, the lower class, the middle class, the lower middle class people. If that happens, ultimately the society starts collapsing. There are more disturbances in the society, crime starts increasing. So development bhi jo hai, that is to a very large extent decided by how the money is flowing in the economy. And not just fiscal policy, but RBI's monetary policy also plays a major role in redistribution of that wealth. Banking system के through, financial inclusion के through, ये सब redistribution हो पाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल यूपीआई, यूनिफाइड पेमेंट इंटरफेस, जो हमारे पास एक बहुत बड़ी पावर आई, उसके थ्रू क्या हुआ, money started changing hands more frequently. This is called as velocity of money. Now money is changing hands more frequently from the rich to the poor as well. आप कुछ भी सामान खरीदने जाते हो, you don't have to think twice because you have money in your account and you can use that instantly. So the flow of money, the frequency of money changing hands increases multiple times. That also results in more income for the poor, बिकॉज लोग उसके पास नहीं जाते थे, बिकॉज लोग को झंझट लगता था, कैश निकालेंगे, कैश देंगे, चेंज लेंगे, लेट्स नॉट डू इट, इट्स नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट इनफ. It changed with UPI. So money started changing hands more frequently. That is where RBI's policies come into play. Just one example I gave you, UPI. डेवलपमेंट के अलावा और क्या क्या ऐसे एक्टिविटीज हैं, ऐसे इम्प्लीकेशंस हैं जहां पे आरबीआई की मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, मनी सप्लाई कम्स इनटू रोल, इनटू प्ले. Inflation in the economy, direct implication. If inflation is very high in the economy, automatically the entire society starts collapsing. Why? Because a lot of people will not be able to buy and afford things that they want to afford, that they want to buy, that they should be able to buy. On the other hand, a lot of people will start consuming less. Even middle class, upper middle class people will start consuming less because now things are out of control, out of their hands. For example, cars, for example, housing right now, they've exploded. What is that? That is all inflation hurting the economy. Consumption goes down. Consumption नीचे जाती है तो automatically producers start producing less because वो बोलते हैं यार हम बना रहे हैं, कोई खरीद नहीं रहा है, हम ये ना बना के let's create products for the richer people because they have the money to afford it. So the choices available to the poor people, to the middle class, start going down. When that starts happening, the inequality increases further. That automatically increases the gap in production as well. We start producing less. कितनी ही companies rich class के लिए बनाएंगी सामान, कितनी ही companies employ कर पाएंगी बहुत सारे लोग in order to produce those kind of goods. So inflation hurts economy in multiple ways, and RBI's monetary policy plays a direct role in letting that not happen, letting inflation not go out of control. Okay. Welfare programs for poor. This is where fiscal policy comes into play. Welfare programs are a major tool of redistribution of wealth, allocation of resources. मतलब किसी के पास बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा है, उससे टैक्स लिया, कुछ स्कीम्स निकाली, वेलफेयर प्रोग्राम्स निकाले, लाइक एमजी नरेगा, पीएम आवास योजना, and now you're trying to give all that money, all that income that you've generated through taxes to these poor people. You're trying to redistribute all that money to these poor people through these welfare schemes and programs. That is where fiscal policy, the government's role, comes in. RBI also has a role to play here. If the interest rates are too high, let's say PM आवास योजना में आपने बोला interest subvention देंगे, मतलब हम आपको, we are not giving you all this money for free. Instead of 10%, we're going to charge you 5%. That is interest subvention. कम interest charge करेंगे. RBI's role is to create policies on interest subvention so that poor people can access those services, those goods which they could not buy before, they could not consume before, they could not use before. तो यहां पर भी RBI's policy plays a major role. फिर आ जाता है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट. नाउ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज बोथ फिजिकल एंड सोशल, दोनों टाइप के होते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल यूपीआई, फॉर एग्जाम्पल किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड, ये सब फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है. दिस इज ऑल सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर which is resulting in financial inclusion in the economy. तो अगर RBI, the government is anyways creating physical and social infrastructure in its own way, but RBI also now has a major role in creating good social infrastructure so that redistribution of wealth can happen better, so that more and more people come into formal banking system, formal financial system. Otherwise वो formal financial system से बाहर रहते हैं, उनका exploitation होता रहता है. They're getting some money at interest rates of 25%, even 50%. किसी ने एक बार लोन ले लिया, they can never get out of that trap. That used to happen. तो infrastructure development में भी RBI plays a role in its own way, because now all of this is happening. Why? Because only one reason. As I said, money has become the binding agent in societies. Money एक ऐसा टूल बन गया है जिसके थ्रू आप पूरी सोसाइटी क्रिएट कर सकते हो. वो पहले नहीं होता था, उतना ज्यादा बड़ा रोल नहीं प्ले करता था. नाउ इट डज. ओके. Jobs, creation of jobs, whether it's fintech, whether it's sustainable finance, whether it's new industries, whether it's MSMEs, although government plays a major role through its budget, it tries and give more money and therefore create more jobs in those areas. But RBI also plays a major role here. मुद्रा लोन्स आपको मिलते हैं, RBI makes it happen. NABARD आपको बहुत सारे रीफाइनेंसिंग करता है, RBI and NABARD make it happen. तो जॉब क्रिएशन में भी दे आर प्लेइंग अ मेजर रोल. बैंकिंग एंड फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम हेल्थ, एनपीए लेवल बढ़ रहे हैं कि नहीं बढ़ रहे हैं, एनपीए लेवल कम भी है तो what is the exact situation on ground, unsecured loans की situation क्या है. All these are parameters through which we try and decide what is the health of banking system, of financial system in our economy. And RBI through its regulation plays a major role in ensuring that the health remains sustainable. Health is good, it's sustainable, which means in the long run we are not going to see those fluctuations कि banking system collapse किया, फिर से build up किया, फिर से collapse हो गया. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. They should have a sustainable trajectory, because a lot of people end up losing money when the banking system falls, and majority of these people are again poor people, middle class people. They're the ones who end up losing money. Vijay Mallya ran out of the country. Who lost? The employees lost. At the same time, the bank that gave all this money, the bank lost that money, and the government had to refinance this bank, had to provide capital to this bank. सारा government के पास पैसा कहाँ से आया? The government had to use all its tax revenues. Who is giving taxes? Not only the rich people, the poor people. जब भी आप GST कुछ सामान खरीदते हो, you're paying GST. All of that tax money is ultimately going here. So you are losing your money in all those activities. Value of rupee, very, very important. Value of rupee does not have an implication only on exports and imports. It does have an implication on exports and imports, but other than that, it also has implications on the value of a country as a whole, on the future of a country as a whole. What is the perspective, what is the perception of people about around the world about value of India as an investment, about value of India as a country where the future growth lies. All of that is decided to a very, very large extent based upon the value of rupee. तो वैल्यू ऑफ रूपी पे भी आरबीआई का काफी कंट्रोल्ड रेगुलेशन रहता है, and they have to consider all these parameters before trying to interfere and change the value of rupee. And sustainable finance, I've highlighted this for the simple reason that it's something new that we're witnessing right now, and RBI is playing a major role, is also focusing a lot on sustainable finance. उनकी वेबसाइट पे आपको एक अलग सेक्शन मिलेगा sustainable finance का, where all the roles that RBI has been playing and is trying to play, and what are the different new initiatives that's trying to come out with in order to encourage sustainable finance, वो सब के बारे में उस वेबसाइट पे बहुत अच्छे से लिखा है. So sustainable finance is one area where RBI has started playing a major role, because what is it that is stopping us from having good climate change policies? It's money. Because we are unable to measure impact of climate change in monetary terms, we are not able to focus on it. हमें दिख रहा है कि natural disasters हो रहे हैं, ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, but even then we are not able to measure and we are not able to feel the impact of all that climate change on our lives, on our financial decisions, and that is why we are not doing anything about it, including various countries. The moment you start feeling that, automatically you start feeling that monetarily, you start doing something about it, and that is where sustainable finance comes in. It says, let's try and put a monetary financial value on climate change related disasters and mishappenings. The moment we can do that and we can mix climate change, sustainability and finance, automatically it will start working together. So that is where RBI's future lies in, a major portion of its focus area. Okay, let me try and help you understand these things better. अभी तो मैंने बहुत सारा ब्लैबर कर दिया, you might be feeling exhausted. मैं एक एक करके 4-5 पॉइंट्स में बताता हूँ कि how RBI is a very important, relevant institution, and if you feel that you can understand it and you can also connect with it and you want to be involved in an activity like this, in a project like this for a lifetime, then it's the institution for you. Okay, let's start with inflation. Now, cost of living, just an example that I've mentioned here, cost of living has gone out of control in the past 2 years, especially in major metro cities. Why has this happened? क्योंकि inflation बहुत ज़्यादा है. But why is this inflation so high in the economy? One major reason, there are multiple reasons. There is oil, there is purchasing power, there's external money, foreign money flowing into India. There are multiple reasons like that. But one major reason is also too much credit creation in the economy. बहुत ज़्यादा क्रेडिट क्रिएशन हुआ है, नॉट ओनली इन सिक्योर्ड हाउसिंग लोन्स बट ऑल्सो इन अनसिक्योर्ड लोन्स. अब उससे क्या हुआ? इमीडिएटली परचेजिंग पावर ऑफ पीपल वेंट अप. They could afford loans very cheaply, very easily. Even if it was expensive, they could afford it very easily. आज apply किया, कल loan मिल गया. They started using a lot of these unsecured loans just for consumption purposes or various purposes, including consumption as well. तो बहुत ज़्यादा जब credit creation होता है, the economy starts heating up because there is too much money flowing in the economy. And that starts harming the economy because लोगों को लगता है now we can afford it, so let's pay more and buy it, but they actually cannot afford it because it's not their money. वो उन्होंने लोन पे लिया होता है, right? Liberal NPA and credit policies by RBI, this also played a major role. They followed more liberal NPA and credit policies, which means कि NPA जहां पहले एकदम से recognize हो जाता था, it would put a stop to all loans of those kinds by the banks. अभी वो धीरे धीरे चल रहा है. People are able to, companies, banks are able to give out loans even when they know that this might turn into an NPA. Evergreening काफी हो रही है. When all of that is happening, we know that there is a more liberal, more easy NPA and credit policy. All of that is going to hurt the economy ultimately. That is what is happening, one of the reasons right now. And fortunately, I believe RBI is going to put a stop to it or try and correct something that they went ahead in the last 2, 3, 4 years because they wanted the economy to grow. That is why they came up with something like this, but it's not working well for the economy, including for RBI's image. So yes, coming back, why is RBI such an important institution? Because it has a big power, a big role to play इन कंट्रोलिंग और कीपिंग इन्फ्लेशन इन चेक. बहुत बड़ा रोल वो प्ले करता है इन्फ्लेशन को चेक में रखने में. एंड इफ इन्फ्लेशन गोज आउट ऑफ कंट्रोल, फॉर पीपल लाइक यू एंड मी हु आर मिडिल क्लास, लोअर क्लास, सबसे ज्यादा इफेक्ट हम लोगों को पड़ता है बिकॉज वी लिविंग हैंड टू माउथ. हमें रियलाइज होने लगता है कि जितना हम कमा रहे हैं उतने में जो हम खरीदते थे कल वो अब खरीद नहीं पा रहे हैं बिकॉज इन्फ्लेशन इज वेरी हाई इन द इकोनॉमी. ओके, द सेकेंड मेजर रीजन एज टू वाई and how RBI is such an important institution is because it plays a major role in maintaining value of rupee at a certain level. We have a floating exchange rate system, which means that the value of rupee vis-a-vis dollar is decided by the market forces, demand and supply. But even with that, we have a dirty floating system, which means that RBI has a right to intervene and make changes whenever it feels that this value of rupee vis-a-vis dollar is going out of control, is not in the benefit of Indian rupee, Indian exports and imports, the long-term growth trajectory of India as perceived by Americans, as perceived by foreign institutions and investors. अगर उसको ऐसा लगता है, it has the right to intervene, it has the tools to intervene as well. So this is where major role of RBI comes in, making sure that the value of rupee is in a sustainable range. Okay, for example 2020 में rupee to dollar का जो exchange rate था that was 75, and in 2025 in 5 years it is 87, which means 16% drop. Now it might not feel like a big drop, it is also not a big drop, but it is affecting the value of India as a country where investment should happen. Why? Because everybody is looking at India as a good, prospective, growing country. And if that growing country is also losing its value, automatically that sends out the wrong message. Also, at the same time, when this is happening, imports of essentials is becoming expensive. Oil का example आप सबके सामने है, 100 रुपए पहुंच चुका है. Why is that? One major reason, there are multiple reasons behind that, but one major reason is this as well. Exports do become cheap. आपका काउंटर आर्ग्यूमेंट होगा सर इससे तो एक्सपोर्ट सस्ते हो जाते हैं. एक्सपोर्ट्स डू बिकम चीप, बट ओवरऑल वैल्यू ऑफ अ कंट्री फॉल्स बिकॉज एक्सपोर्ट्स तो आपके सस्ते हो गए, but the value of your country, value of rupee in the eyes of the investor, in the eyes of a foreigner is certainly down. And there is a fall in FDI. Why? Because future outlook अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है. Because if the currency is regularly depreciating, foreigners, investors को लगता है I don't think it's the right country to invest in because there is something wrong. That's why the rupee is depreciating regularly, consistently. Something is not right. Something there is something that I probably am missing, nobody's telling me, but there is something deeper inside the economy which is not working well. तो बहुत सारा एफडीआई इसकी वजह से फ्यूचर आउटलुक को देख के बाहर जाने लगता है. एंड व्हेन ऑल ऑफ दैट हैपेंस वी हैव नाउ लेस मनी फॉर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट, बिकॉज फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है हमारे जैसे देश के लिए. A country with more than 1.4 billion people, almost 1/8 of the entire planet, we have so many people, so little land, not enough resources with the government that can actually do all this development. We need money from the private players. We need money from investors, institutions from outside the country. All this money can come in, create infrastructure, invest in India, जिससे कि हमारा लाइफस्टाइल इंप्रूव हो, जिससे कि हमारी प्रोडक्शन इंप्रूव हो, जिससे कि हमारा मेथड ऑफ लिविंग इंप्रूव हो, जिससे कि हमारी इनकम्स इंक्रीज हो. ये सब नहीं हो पाता है when the value of rupee consistently goes down. I'm not saying whenever it goes down this happens, but if it is consistently falling, तो ये एक मैसेज जाता है. That is where RBI's role comes into play. The third major area is the health of banking system. मैंने briefly आपको पहले भी बताया था, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले. कैसे डिसाइड करता है? There are multiple thousands of parameters. मैंने कुछ parameters लिखे हैं. More branches in rural areas, regular usage of accounts by poor people for transactions, more bank credit for growth and welfare. Now, more bank credit does not mean unlimited bank credit. It means bank credit where it is the most needed, where it is the most required, and in the most legal and well-regulated manner. Ratio of unsecured loans to secured loans, ratio of NPAs, non-performing assets, internal and external audits, corporate governance in the banking system. All of these come together and various other tools come together and decide कि banking system की health कैसी. और इन सब में RBI का रोल बहुत बड़ा है. RBI decides to a very large extent कितनी ब्रांचेस आपको रूरल एरियाज में खोलनी है, कितना आपका क्रेडिट ग्रोथ हो सकता है, बहुत ज़्यादा है तो इसको कम करिए. NPA लेवल कितना, how are you measuring it, how much evergreening is happening, and to what extent, to what level is NPA acceptable by our economy. Unsecured loans में recently RBI took a step. They said to the banks, your unsecured loans ratio has gone up by a big margin, start reducing it. तो उन्होंने, they came out with certain steps through which banks were forced to start reducing their ratio or weightage of unsecured loans in the system. ऐसे ही audits कितने ज़्यादा strong हैं, supervision and regulation, supervision, specially supervision department इसको रेगुलेट करने की कोशिश करता है कि यार आप ऑडिट अच्छे से कर रहे हो, कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस अच्छा है कि नहीं अच्छा है. सो बैंकिंग सिस्टम्स हेल्थ इज टू अ वेरी लार्ज एक्सटेंट ड्रिवन एंड डिसाइडेड बाय आरबीआई एज वेल. सो इफ यू फील दैट यू बिलोंग हियर, दैट यू वांट टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस काइंड ऑफ अ सिस्टम जहां पे ये सब हो रहा है, देन आरबीआई इज द राइट इंस्टीट्यूशन फॉर यू. ओके, सो मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव ये सब बताने का यही है कि यार आपको समझ आए वेदर आरबीआई इज द राइट प्लेस फॉर मी और नॉट. नौकरी कल को ले लोगे, डिसेंट लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड आ जाएगा, बट 1-2 साल के बाद यू विल स्टार्ट आस्किंग योरसेल्फ वेदर यू बिलोंग इन दिस प्लेस और नॉट. अभी सोच रहे होगे कि यार तब की तब देखेंगे. इट्स करेक्ट ऑल्सो, मैं आपको ब्लेम नहीं कर सकता बिकॉज द यूथ ऑफ दिस कंट्री इज लार्जली अनएम्प्लॉयड, नहीं मिल रहा है एम्प्लॉयमेंट आपको जो चाहिए. बट इवन देन मैं चाहूंगा कि स्टूडेंट्स थोड़ा सा इसके ऊपर भी देखें, नौकरी के ऊपर देखें और समझने की कोशिश करें कि जो वो काम करने जा रहे हैं, वेदर दे एक्चुअली feel connected with that work, with that kind of organization or not. The fourth and last area where RBI has started playing a big role, major role, is innovation. Investment अगर किसी भी देश को, including a developing country like India, if we want heavy investment, we need to keep innovating. अगर हम innovate नहीं करेंगे, other countries, other investors, other people will stop looking at India, seeing India as a place where the future growth of the world lies. That is a reality. It's not a perception, it's a reality. जैसे चाइना है, चाइना ने कितना इनोवेट किया पिछले 20-30 सालों में, कितना ग्रो किया, उसके बेसिस पे now it has become a direct competitor to the United States. The same still now does not hold for India. Why? Because innovation has happened in India, but in bits and pieces. It has not happened consistently over a period of time, and RBI is trying to change that by bringing and by pushing innovation in the financial sector. And believe me, it's doing a very good job till date in pushing and making sure that innovation survives in India and keeps happening, especially in the financial and banking sector. कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स मैंने यहाँ डाले हुए हैं, सस्टेनेबल फाइनेंस जो मैंने पहले आपको बताया था, और फिनटेक, इन दोनों में ही बहुत अच्छे अच्छे इनोवेशंस आरबीआई लेके आ रहा है. दे आर पुशिंग रेगुलरली बोथ दीज सेक्टर्स, जिससे कि ये these two sectors become a major part and parcel of the entire banking and financial system in our country. अभी ये पेरिफेरल टूल्स की तरह यूज होते हैं, पेरिफेरल एक्टिविटीज की तरह यूज होते हैं. वो चाहता है कि यार ये बैंकिंग सिस्टम और फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम के इंटीग्रल पार्ट्स बन जाएं. इनके बिना बैंकिंग सिस्टम चल नहीं रहा है, फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम चल नहीं रहा है, इनके साथ चल रहा है. ऑटोमेटिकली द अमाउंट ऑफ ग्रोथ, द अमाउंट ऑफ इनोवेशन, द अमाउंट ऑफ न्यू टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट दैट वील सी इज गोइंग टू बी इमेंस. ओके, सो फिनटेक का मतलब होता है टेक्नोलॉजी फॉर फाइनेंशियल डेवलपमेंट. For RBI, it means technology for financial inclusion, because ultimately that is one of the objectives of RBI कि खाली financial development ना हो, वो सबके लिए development हो. तो technology for financial inclusion, that is where our RBI's interest lies in. And one major area of interest is finance that can help tackle climate change, and that is possible only when we're able to put a monetary number, फाइनेंशियल नंबर ऑन इम्पैक्ट ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज. तो ऑटोमेटिकली हम उसको जब मॉनेटरी टर्म्स में मेजर करना शुरू कर पाएंगे, वी मेक इट एन इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ. फॉर एग्जांपल, टुमारो यू वांट टू गो आउट एंड बाय लेट्स से अ शेयर ऑफ एसबीआई, और आपको पता लगता है यार एसबीआई इज फॉलोइंग सच एंड सच एटसेट्रा सच वंडरफुल सस्टेनेबल क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड फाइनेंस रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज. द वैल्यू ऑफ एसबीआई शेयर स्टार्ट्स गोइंग अप. नाउ व्हाट इज दैट? जो भी उसने क्लाइमेट चेंज के लिए काम किया, दैट वैल्यू इज गेटिंग रिफ्लेक्टेड इन द शेयर प्राइस ऑफ एसबीआई. दैट इज द कनेक्शन दैट आरबीआई समहाउ ट्राइंग टू क्रिएट, especially vis-a-vis the banking and financial system both, not only the financial markets, the financial system and the banking system, both of them. That is why probably they came out with two new domains, bank.in, fin.in. They're trying to push it from multiple dimensions, multiple directions, and ultimately try and make innovation happen in the economy. Okay, so these are the four major points that I wanted to discuss with you, जिससे कि शायद कुछ आइडिया लग गया होगा स्टूडेंट्स को, why is RBI such an important institution for future development of India. And if you feel that this is the place that you want to be, if you feel that you want to be a part of this revolution, then it's a good place for you to be in. Then you can prepare for this examination. Stop worrying about things like when will the notification come, all those things. It happens every year and we know notification is somehow or the other kabhi na kabhi aa hi jayega is saal mein. So let's not worry about it too much. Let's worry about giving the exam well, preparing well, and then giving the exam, preparing in such a way that we can clear the exam. Not just write the exam for the sake of it, कि हमें अपने घर वालों को दिखाना है कि देखो prelims clear हो गया. नहीं, you're writing the exam to clear the exam. Okay, that is all from my side. I hope you learned something new. If you did, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. और नीचे comment section में ज़रूर बताना कि यार और क्या चाहते हो मुझसे. ये भी किसी स्टूडेंट ने ही बताया था मुझे कि सर मुझे थोड़ा सा आरबीआई के बारे में जानना है, वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट एग्जैक्टली एम आई गोइंग टू बी डूइंग इन आरबीआई, थोड़ा ब्रीफली मुझे बताइए. सो आई थॉट लेट्स क्रिएट अ गुड वीडियो आउट ऑफ इट. लेट्स ट्राई एंड spread the message to amongst a lot of students. So whatever you want me to talk about, put it down in the comment section below. I'll try and pick up whatever I can in my limited capacity and we'll try and discuss that over a video. I'll see you again very soon. All the best. Jai Hind.